I generally find that the practitioners, whether it's an acne coach, a naturopath, a doctor, whoever it may be, they haven't received any education or proper training in a hair trace mineral analysis, and they're still learning things every single day.
It's going to look at imbalances such as, say, iron and calcium, how they're correlated. Are we struggling, say, with calcium and phosphorus in order to utilize our fats and our proteins? Again, it's not going to tell you specifically where your testosterone, your 5-ADHT, that's where we'd probably go into more of a Dutch.
What's really great about HTMA is it's one of those tests that you don't have to stop any of your medications. How in-depth this test is, and it isn't just a surface level. We are looking at the levels of the minerals and the story that they tell us of what's happening in the body. Every professional athlete in the world, they all have coaches in place, even though they are the top athletes in their field, because their coaches catch things that they don't and they can't see. So this is why I'm the advocate that you should never coach yourself, even as a professional. Every once in a while, we do our Ask the Nutritionist series where we pull Instagram, we find out what questions do you want to know. So today we're doing kind of a special one, Cris Brown, which I know you're excited for, and that is all dedicated to the HTMA test or a hair trace mineral analysis, because not a day goes by where my DMs aren't filled with questions about the HTMA, because you know we love one here at KSW, the Clear Skin Chronicles. So Cris Brown, before we get into the questions, because we got some good ones, break down what a hair trace mineral analysis actually is, in case nobody knows what it is.
It's like heaven in a bottle.
It is like heaven in a bottle.
So an HTMA is often what I refer to it, instead of saying hair trace mineral analysis every single time. What I love about it, it's non-invasive, it's a lab test, it's functional, it's going to measure mineral content that is stored in our soft tissue, so cellular level, and that's inside the body, right? So it's going to analyze really a small, tiny bit of hair. So no, don't worry, not your whole head. Outside of that, it's a little bit different than blood labs, which I'm sure that'll be one of the questions, because if that doesn't come up 600 times.
It's the first question,
is
actually,
it?
Cris. It's the first question.
Okay, so I'll hold there, okay?
You hold there.
So what it is it shows longer term mineral trends and stress patterns. What's it going to do? It's going to give us mineral levels, so we can see calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, zinc, copper, toxic metal exposures, mercury, lead, cadmium, barium, whatever. There's many more. We also have key mineral ratios. So this really helps assess things like body systems. It could point us into direction of thyroid activity, adrenal stress, blood sugar dysregulation, or regulation, I should say. What about inflammation? Because that would be included too. Even metabolic type. So whether a person is a fast oxidizer or a slow oxidizer.
So question numero uno is, how is this different from a blood test? Why is this information helpful?
So it's way different than a blood test. So like I was saying, it's a long term. So what we ask is, your hair roughly grows in 1/2 inch every month. So we're going to collect at least 1.5 inches to 2. We like 2 inches just in case, from the nape of the neck. And that's literally, it's just down that spinal cavity where your hair is, from the base right up, anywhere in about there. And what it's going to do is it's going to give us, again, a long-term overview of what's happening at a cellular level. And why do we want it as a long-term overview? Because blood labs tell you what's happening right then. So an example, if I drink 3.5 cups of water prior to going into a blood lab, I could alter different blood lab values. Or I might look like I'm protein deficient because I've been fasting and had lots of water. Or what about people that don't drink anything and then say their creatine or something is altered, or your analysis comes back as cloudy and it's misjudged as, oh, that's okay, versus other things that could be going on, like dehydration and breakdown of the body. So blood labs are current in the moment at that time, period. Done. Vice versa, the HTMA is long-term, 2-3 months of a synopsis of what we're going to see, and cellular level. So what's floating in the blood or what's happening in the tissue level. And that's going to be super important, because when it's in the tissue, then we can see different things that it could be affecting over the time, versus that one little blood spot that you got, at 10 a.m. as you're stressing, going to the place and you can't find it. Like that's what happened to me last time. So I would say that's the big difference. It's the immediate versus a long-term overview.
Okay, next question, which I'll answer because this is an easy one, is, can I get this from my doctor? 99.9% of the time, no, you're not going to be able to get this from your medical doctor, mainly because they aren't trained in this. Your medical doctors are trained very well in pharmaceuticals and treating symptoms, but they're not most of the time, they're not going to be trained in functional medicine. And when we're looking at these labs, whether it's an HTMA, it's a Dutch, it's a GI map, it's a mold test, like whatever it may be, you're going to be getting these from functional practitioners. So you will find these most often with functional nutritionists, holistic practitioners, functional doctors. That's where you're going to be able to find these types of tests.
The Clear Skin Solution.
Us here at the Clear Skin Solution. But here's a caveat is because you want to know what? Since we started running an HTMA, now I see it everywhere. Like everybody's running an HTMA. And we were
Especially
really the forefront.
acne.
I have noticed that, to be honest. I have noticed that trend. We've been
Mm-hmm.
doing this since like 2020. But I say that just because somebody offers an HTMA doesn't mean they're properly trained in this. And I've seen this time and time again where clients they're like, hey, I got an HTMA done over here. And they just told me I needed to take a multivitamin. And we're like, no, that's not it. So not only do you want to make sure you're getting this from a qualified practitioner, you want to make sure you're getting this from somebody who's properly trained in an HTMA. And if they are just telling you, hey, you need to take more zinc, that is a warning sign. Go elsewhere. Next question is, how much hair do I need to cut, Cris Brown?
Okay, so like I was saying before, it's about anywhere from, I'd say 2 to 3 inches is sufficient. If you already have longer hair, since we're taking it from the nape of the neck, we're not plucking it, we're not collecting DNA, we're taking it from the nape of the neck closest to the scalp as we can. And then from there down, you cut. We provide very detailed directions on what to do. Pictures, how to draw diagrams, just to make sure it's sufficient. We'll monitor if you just a double check. Can you tell me if there's enough hair? These types of things. It's not an excessive amount. And even though when people are like, my hair takes forever to grow, yes, by length. However, when it comes from the back of the hair, believe it or not, it does grow quickly. You don't notice it as much. And if somebody like me who has their hair up all the time because I look like a shrub for 10 out of the 12 months a year, I recently cut my hair and you can't even tell. So we'll provide information. We'll say how to do it. But long story the short is how much? Maybe 2, 3 inches max.
And how you do that is what I do is I put my hair half up, and you want to be making sure that the hair that you're sending in for the sample is actually the 2 inches, like the 1 inch closest to the scalp, because that's the most recent information. You're not giving the ends of the hair. I put my hair half up and I actually take multiple little snippets from different areas. So it's not like you have this random bald patch. It's like really tiny little snippets from the back of the head. And like I've done this on my kids and my husband who have very short hair. And when you do it in this way, you barely even notice.
Yeah, exactly. Some people just wear their hair down all the time. If you wanted to take one chunk, we've had clients do that. They're like, it doesn't matter to me. My hair will never be up. It's not a thing. Then then do it. It's like I said, non-invasive, at home, easy peasy. Here's your instructions.
All right, next is, will an HTMA tell me my food intolerances? So a hair trace mineral will not tell you your specific food intolerances, like you have an intolerance to oranges and strawberries and eggs. That type of test is an IgG, food sensitivity test, which is generally done by a finger prick. All right. Easy one. Next question. So, Cris, what does the test tell you about the current state of your gut health?
So this will not tell us the specific species, just like the specific food intolerances. That would be a GI map. So if you want to know, do I have a secretory IgA imbalance? That's going to be a GI map. Do I have E. coli, H. pylori, whatever? That's a GI map. What the HTMA does and why we love it is it's going to look at imbalances such as, say, iron and calcium, how they're correlated. Do we have sufficient digestive juices? Are we struggling, say, with calcium and phosphorus in order to utilize our fats and our proteins? Do we have substantial sodium and magnesium? Because if it's super low, we're going to be looking at, factors such as, can I digest my proteins, my fats? Do I have allergies? And when we say allergies, a lot of people use that word interchangeably to food intolerances. So really watch that. Again, those significant ratios, when they pair together, they go, hey, this is the body system of, digestion. This is the body system of the thyroid. This is the body system of the stress-like components, vitality, or blood sugar even. And when we look at that encompassing, yes, we can start to look at, hey, where is the gut health? When I look at an HTMA, I don't look at a client's profile ahead of time and I pull things out. And then I will go to the client's history and I'll be like, oh, there you are. So long story short is, yes, we can see how the gut health along with your history it can be impeding on your overall digestion, assimilation, and obviously your absorption.
All right, next question is, I don't have a lot of hair. How can I do the test? Well, what we do is when we have clients come in, and women are always scared about cutting their hair, especially if we have women that come in that are dealing with thinning hair. So we have two options. Is one, we can work with them like we just talked about and take really small snippets from around the areas. But if that's not an option, there is an alternative where you can use nail clippings.
It will have different values. So we've had people take nail clippings and then do a hair after, and the value, the ranges, like blood ranges, hair has ranges as well. They will look different. So, but yeah, we can absolutely use nail clippings.
And it's actually, we had this question asked twice in two different ways. So I'll read both of them. One is, another acne coach told me an HTMA isn't valid. Can you explain? And the second question was, I was told an HTMA is not accurate. Can you explain?
That is okay that another acne coach told you that this isn't valid. That's okay. That's their, I'm going to use opinion because I don't like that word. So that's their opinion. However, in my thought process, and I don't even know how many I've touched of these, over 2,000 guaranteed. And because I do these so often, this is really my world, right? I love them. It allows us to get in, and it allows us to go in either, if we can, a little more aggressively, moderately, and or for 99.9% of the clients, we have to go in softly because the body is already showing a lot of signs of misalignment. Whether an acne coach told you, whether it was a naturopath, whether it was your doctor, whether it was your sister-in-law, it doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, your hair is a collection, so up to 3 months of cellular level congestion. It allows us to see if there's heavy metals, because one simple supplement can push that heavy metal out versus binding it. So we have to watch that stuff. And, if you push heavy metals out in already acne-prone skin, you are not going to be happy.
I generally find that the practitioners, whether it's an acne coach, a naturopath, a doctor, whoever it may be, they haven't received any education or proper training in a hair trace mineral analysis and the nuances and how in-depth it is. Like, the licensed clinicians we work with have over 25 years of experience interpreting hair trace mineral analysis, and they're still learning things every single day. This is how in-depth they are. So I think it just truly comes down to they haven't had the education or the training behind it.
I mean, I touch all the files too, right? And I see them, and I'm constantly learning, and I have a bunch of different courses under my belt, and I'm up leveling every single time, or I might be like, oh yeah, that connects, like, who even knows, like, adrenaline, if somebody's pumping out this stress hormone, but they're using more of the adrenaline, the fight or flight, that could be connected to the testosterone, calm down the adrenals. We don't need to go after the sex hormones. It's too premature, right? So yeah, we see stuff like that. We see patterns of PCOS. We see patterns of aggressiveness. We see patterns of ADHD. We see patterns of type 1 diabetes, cholesterol, hypertension. Yes, we can see those. Thyroid, hypo, these, you know what I mean? But the thing is again, we have to watch how it's stimulated. The thyroid just doesn't go off. The thyroid has been stressed out. So what's the pecking order? Chicken, egg, right? So yeah, absolutely. The first thing is I always say, yes, it's okay that somebody has told you that it's not accurate. The next question you follow up with is you say, how many programs or hours have you taken on that? Because it's a difference between somebody wanting to go and discount another person. I don't need to validate it, essentially. I don't need to, because when I sit with a client or anyone on our team sits with a client, they're like, oh my gosh, you read my soul. How did you know that? I
love that when they say that. That's my personality. Do you live with me?
Yeah. How do you know this? How do you know this? How do you know this? I don't know this. Yes, I have an intake. One, I can tell you I didn't read it and I could have read it. The in-depth information that I can provide you about yourself, you wouldn't even give me on an intake. So the nuances of how you even process your thoughts to how your minerals are. Correct the minerals, we might not have OCD, right? So I always say to people, is it the person doesn't say they're accurate because they have copious amounts of training and they're constantly up-leveling and they've fostered and applied them in the amounts that we have, and they validate it to be not accurate? Or is it somebody going, that's a competitor, I don't believe in the philosophy, you just have to change your mindset?
And to kind of piggyback on this question, because you talked about hormones in here, is another question, Cris, is what will this tell me about my hormones?
Again, it's not going to tell you specifically where your testosterone, your 5-ADHT, your anything like that. That's where we'd probably go into more of a Dutch. However, what it can say, if your zinc and your copper imbalance, zinc is very male dominant, copper is very female. We could see imbalances with things such as estrogen, not just zinc and copper, by the way. There's other factors with your adrenals where we could see estrogen dominance. And what it's going to tell us about our hormones are they operating fully? But when you say hormone in this question, I guarantee you're probably talking sex hormones, or I'm talking all your hormones, because all your hormones are fat-based. Where's your phosphorus? What's it doing in your body? Can you emulsify your biles? And your fats, can you break down the fats? All of those are going to be cofactors to your sex hormones. Are you stressed? Is your sodium, potassium, your magnesium and sodium, are they off? Is the thyroid not functioning? Are we in slow oxidative stress, right? Or state? So are you processing your food slower? Because now we're going to alter the way you're eating. Are you under eating?
Oh my goodness, the biggest one. And as you can hear from Cris talking, how in-depth this test is, and it isn't just a surface level, oh, you're high in calcium, low in magnesium, so we have to balance those out. That is not what an HTMA test is. We are looking at the levels of the minerals and the story that they tell us of what's happening in the body. So the next question is, do I get a second HTMA test to track the progress made? So we provide every client that comes into the CSS an HTMA when they start out with us. Should they want to run another one later on in the program, we do have that available as an upgrade. Cris Brown, will the test show if I have been affected by mold?
It will not show you if you've been affected by mold. It can show cofactors of how your body's dealing perhaps with a underlying infection. If our calcium and sodium is pretty low, that could be part of it. Also under eating, these types of things. If we have gut dysbiosis, if we have issues with the gut, could that be done? However, you know what's really going to probably show mold more other than an oat test, because that's the one, or mycotoxins.
The mycotox.
Yeah. Even the oat is pretty comprehensive. Mm-hmm. It doesn't tell specific like the other one, but it's good in order to see that multi-factor. Remember, the HTMA is for minerals and heavy metals and bringing towards body systems. And because the minerals are so important to your body, the fact that you can revert some personality traits even by correcting the minerals should just show you how vital. And we need to get minerals through food. So you have to be eating, you have to be eating right in rotation, you have to be eating the right things. So yes, mold is not fun. However, we are going to probably go and support the spleen, which we're going to with mold anyways. They're going to support the gut, which you're going to do. So we're going to start to take out the ways it can continue to be fed.
Love it.
That's what I like about it.
Here's a question for me, Cris Brown. Can I be on the birth control pill and do an HTMA? Yes, you can. What's really great about an HTMA is it's one of those tests that you don't have to stop any of your medications in order to get a really good read on it. Say like a Dutch test, if you're on the pill, it may skew the results a little bit. So an HTMA, no need to stop it. All right, next question. Cris, this is for you. I've had an HTMA done before, and the naturopath told me I was just low in zinc and calcium, and all I had to do was take those.
Yeah, well, because that's double-edged, right? So I don't have the report, fair. So it's not like I can really make a true assessment on something like that. I can say, yep, they shouldn't have done that. And listen, I promise you, there is no coach inside the Clear Skin Solution that will say that person did it wrong. We say we may do it differently, and here's how we'd like to do it. And you're more than welcome to ask us questions as why we're not doing it that way. But again, if it was all that case of zinc and calcium, then why are you with us now? If that was going to change everything. Calcium has an ability to also neutralize stomach acid. Think about it. When we have heartburn, we take what? Tums. Tums is what? Calcium. What do they tell you to take to get more calcium in when you're pregnant for whatever reason? Tums. However, it can neutralize stomach acid. So calcium, if it is not into the bones, outside of osteoporosis and weak bones, it is in the tissues and we can't have it. So we've got to shunt that back. But it is not, even if we're just low calcium, it is not about taking calcium, because you can be neutralizing your iron. You could be neutralizing and offsetting other minerals. Zinc, same thing. Yeah. You know how many people are low in zinc? Technically, everybody should be on zinc, if I was going to say it, just like vitamin D, just like magnesium, just because we don't get a ton of nutrients in. But calcium can be 110% fed in through the diet. If we have low zinc and we have low calcium, are we eating it? Are we digesting it? Can we assimilate it? Are we breaking it down? These are the things I want you to start thinking versus look at this. I know people that just purchase this test and never talk to somebody. What a disservice to yourself. What a disservice, honestly. So please, no, it's not just about a zinc and a calcium because those are low and we don't want to repopulate things because zinc is going to offset copper and copper is going to offset iron and calcium is going to offset iron and now you're going to anemic. So I would say proceed with caution, ask more questions. What do the body systems look like? What are the significant ratios? I love the lab we deal with because we have way more significant ratios than any other lab.
And explain what a significant ratio is.
Significant ratio is when you take one mineral, it pairs with another mineral, and it has a value. And that value, despite in the range or not, we like to look for specific numbers, right? We would be no better than a typical blood lab test if we were just going to look at ranges. And we start to see the symmetry of what that operational system, that body system is doing. So calcium, magnesium, blood sugar. Right? Calcium and sodium, for an example, that could be one slow or fast oxidation. It could be underlying infections. It could be, does the client have a lot of frustration, resentment? Are they eating enough? That's the first one. Are you even eating enough? Are you fast oxidizer because you don't eat enough? So that just means when you don't eat enough, your body, when it gets food in, it just plows through it, burns through it. And then you're like, oh, I'm tired again, or more exhausted than tired because tired could be food intolerances. Ask questions, show up for yourself, and you can always get a second opinion.
Next question. Can I be on a HRT and still do this? Yes, you can. Just like the birth control pill. You don't need to stop your medications in order to do the HTMA. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah. And we want to see what your body system's doing even on them, right? So we need to meet you where you are now versus where you want to be.
Last question, which we can both chat to, is why don't you use a Dutch test or a GI map? We actually do use them. They are available for upgrades, but we don't run with a Dutch right off the bat. And I'll let Cris explain.
Here's the thing. Dutch represents your hormones, sex hormones, essentially. Yes, we're going to see the ACTH. Yes, we're going to see potentially what's happening with the pituitary, the cortisol, like a little bit of that adrenal interconnection. We can get an oat panel. They come with some other things like your B12 and your minerals. Oh, look at that. Minerals, vitamins, B12, B6. Why? Because those are part of the methylation of hormones. That's why they're there. We're going to see indican. Are you eating enough protein? Do you have gut dysbiosis? So it can. Why I would never recommend going to a Dutch first is because every time somebody comes in with a Dutch, I am going to their gut.
It just shows gut inflammation in the Dutch test.
It shows high levels of inflammation. So we need to calm your body down. So is there a purpose? Yes. But this is why we don't recommend unless there's something really maybe, honestly, I recommended 5 in all the 6 years. Right,
to have a Dutch test done right off the hop.
Let's get this and let's get this because I already see this. Do you know what I mean?
We actually have a program after the Clear Skin Solution for our graduates, Beyond Clear, where we help them fine-tune additional health goals that they have. And in there, they get a Dutch test run.
And an HTMA.
Because we've calmed body systems down. We've calmed that gut inflammation down. So now we can get a better read on their hormones because their Dutch isn't just screaming gut inflammation. And then a GI map, also love a GI map. That's going to be showing the specific species of bacteria and parasites, H. pylori, on, markers of the intestinal lining and your Sig-A. Love a GI map. We find that it's not necessary right off the hop. But again, if there is an instance where a client comes in, we're like, hey, we think you would really benefit from a GI map. Let's run one of those. We will absolutely tell them.
Yeah, and super limited because we're going to go in likely through the HTMA. Because remember I said we can isolate gut imbalances. We don't know all the species. But example, if bismuth is elevated, I'm going, ooh, do we have SIBO? So we would then go to the client file. Do we have H. pylori? I have yet to see an HTMA that has elevated bismuth come back without H. pylori. Just doesn't happen. So, I don't know if there's any publication on that, but here, when we've had copious amount of case files, we can start to piece together things. And what do they use bismuth for? In Europe, they use it to eradicate H. pylori. You can't just go drink a gallon of Pepto-Bismol because that does have bismuth in it. It will turn your poop black. It will make it hard and you probably won't pass it. And it's caked full of other stuff that we don't want in there. So love a Dutch, love a GI map, love an O, love the mitotox. Just there's times and place. If we already know that we're going to go into the gut, why don't we go and eradicate as much as we can? Because when you do these tests, it's always like when you do a gut test and they're expensive, you have to redo another gut test in order to see how well you're doing. Especially if there's H. pylori. And H. pylori, guarantee you are hanging in H. pylori mode for 6 months.
I've run 3 GI maps on myself in the last year in order to make sure that the work that I've been doing has progressing, and it has, which is great. But I've been running them every few months just to get a gauge on how my gut's doing. This is why I'm such a big advocate for you need a coach, because even though I do this for a living, I am very biased to myself. So I go to Cris Brown as my coach, even though she's like, why did I get you as a client? So you got to think about it. Every professional athlete in the world, the Michael Phelps, the Sidney Crosbys, the, McDavid, Simone Biles, they all have coaches in place, even though they are the top athletes in their field, because their coaches catch things that they don't and they can't see. And the coaches are trained to do this. So this is why I'm the advocate that you should never coach yourself, even as a professional.
Yeah, 100%. So please just, you can do all the things. If you're not getting any gains, then you want to look at more testing. Why we do the HTMA again is because not only is it non-invasive, it is done in order to see the total inflammatory overview of the body. Can we push the body? Is the body nervous? Is the body in fight or flight? Is the body scared? Is the body holding on to memories and rage and anger because that's the seat of the liver? We don't go and push that liver right away. And now we have the opportunity to see all the congestion that could be attributing. So you know what? We might have to go to the kidneys before the liver to take the burden off. So there's backdoor ways we get to maneuver. It's not just a one and done.
Yeah, we can get like 6 to 9 months worth of protocols from just a single HTMA test.
100%.
Just one.
That's why I do them every 9 months.
All right, everybody, that's a fun-filled day here at the Clear Skin Chronicles, all about the HTMA. If you have any follow-up questions, show up in my DMs, I'm telling you, and we will answer your questions for the HTMA. If you have any follow-ups, anything's pop up. And as always, if you do want to grab an HTMA, you are always welcome to hang out with us in the Clear Skin Solution. You can check the show notes to learn how to work with us, and we hope to see you there. Have a great day, everybody.